Have you collected everything? Chirped Viridian. Almost, replied Caspian, placing another bottle inside the worn chest. He closed the lid with a bang, snapped the catches shut, and hoisted the chest in the air. The glassware inside clattered together with every step he took. Careful, avoid damaging the merchandise. Highly magical stuff, warned Viridian, flaring his fingers in the air, punctuating the word magical. You can drop the salesman act, Viridian. We both know this is just alcohol, said Caspian, holding the chest in his arms. Ah, but that doesn't prevent it from being magical alcohol. We are selling to wizards, remember? Viridian noted with a smirk. Anyway, I am the mage of the group. When I assure you something is magic, you're meant to listen, he added with a wink. Right then, O ye grand mystic. Mind whipping up a spell to carry this then? Quipped Caspian sarcastically. Oh, you can carry it effortlessly. You're the big strapping warrior, remember? Mana isn't cheap, Viridian replied, tapping his coin purse for effect. Spoken like a true seneschal, noted Caspian, shaking his head and chuckling. Caspian, chest in hand, started marching across the encampment, the clink of bottles ringing out, drowning out the sounds of the duo's boots pacing through the mud. The occasional head turned to look at the burdened warrior and the flamboyant mage. Viridian walked in front, leading the way and making grand gestures to passers-by with his staff. Come one, come all to Viridian's Grotto, the Empire's premier emporium of fine potions to embolden courage. Courage is a virtue, and coin is mere pittance in the face of transcendence. We will be purveying our wares outside of Conclave, he merrily exclaimed. He paused to clarify the scheme to Caspian. Alright, so the mages are required to attend Conclave, a rather dull bureaucratic endeavor. That's where we come in. Imperial heroes selling merriment, helping to bolster their will against the infinite squabbling of policymakers. Viridian divulged under his breath, a smile spreading across his face. The duo trudged past the portal gate to a field full of different creatures in long, flowing ceremonial robes. The smell of fresh smoke filled the air as the campsites set up fires for the coming night. Magi from all traditions and lineages had gathered together. Slowly, more seemed to be joining them. Viridian's green cloak fit right in amongst the lavishly adorned magicians. Caspian, wearing a simple shirt and short cloak, seemed rather out of place. This was exacerbated by the enormous tower shield slung across his back. He eyed up his surroundings as he positioned the chest between two tents, arranging the contents neatly on top. Come, come, glorious practitioners of the mystic arts, to Viridian's Grotto, home of the finest elixirs in the Empire, exclaimed Viridian. His first few cries were unregistered by the surrounding mages. However, with some persistence, he caught the attention of a few customers. A small group of mages shuffled towards the makeshift stall. Viridian started to detail the merchandise, gesturing to a large decanter of cherry-red liquid. Try our famous DuLac cocktail, the finest elixir made of almonds mixed with the juice of the cranberry. I think you'll find the flavors balance out the harshness of either regent, leaving only the finest taste. He gestured as he spoke, smoke and tiny sparks dancing from his staff. Viridian continued dazzling audiences with various grandiose tales of the origins of his ingredients. Many of these tales entirely fabricated. It worked a charm. Sales steadily gained momentum. However, the stall occasionally drew the ire of less welcoming patrons. A man eyed up the makeshift stall with a grimace and shouted from a distance. What are you lot doing over here then? He inquired, shaking his head. Caspian reflexively put his hand at the sword at his side, his cloak obscuring his movement to the passerby. We're selling virtues, Viridian clarified. No, you're not. You're selling booze, the disgruntled passer replied. Courage is a virtue, is it not? And I am correct in that alcohol is colloquially known as liquid courage. Hence, we are purveying courage, a virtue, in a bottle, Viridian replied with a coy smile wrapped across his face. Oh, bugger off with that nonsense, the naysayer replied, waving his hand as he trudged off into the distance. Caspian relaxed, taking his hand off his sword. A smile returned to his face. He turned to Viridian. You know, some priests might take offense to that pitch, Caspian poked. Only the boring ones, Viridian replied with a wink. Eventually, customers started to wane, along with the fleeting merchandise. The hottest sellers were all gone. The duo amused themselves between customers by observing the various rituals taking place in the square. Caspian stared dumbfounded at the circle of mages performing a strange ritual. What in the name of the labyrinth are they doing now? Caspian inquired, shaking his head. Some kind of ritual, replied Viridian. Oh, thanks for the expert magical opinion, Caspian chided. Well, I'm not wrong, Viridian remarked. Yes, but I was hoping for a little more insight than that, Caspian replied. Viridian paused, observing the rites occurring. staring intently at the motions of the magus leading the ritual. He studied the runes etched in the circle, listened to the chants, analyzed the garbs worn by the mages partaking in the ritual. Drawing on all his knowledge from the mystic arts, he came to his conclusion. Definitely not spring, he said slowly and methodically. How do you know that? What is it then? Asked Caspian, looking expectantly. Well, to be honest, I only know spring. This ain't it, Viridian replied, tapping his staff to the ground. New flowers bloomed around the area as the staff touched the ground. See? Now that's spring, Viridian remarked, pointing at the flowers. He then motioned to the ritual. Lot less flowers over there. Probably not spring, Viridian concluded. Caspian paused for a second, dumbfounded. He stared blankly at Viridian. Then a smile crept over both of their faces, and they burst out laughing. You know, I can't tell if you're messing with me or not, Viridian, Caspian chuckled. Oh, does it matter? It's just weird magic stuff, Viridian chortled back. Bloody mages, Caspian laughed, shaking his head. Indeed, Viridian concurred with a smile. Viridian surveyed the scene, pausing briefly. What I can tell you, however, is that the average ritual only needs to take about 2 to 5 minutes. The rest is just pointless ceremony. Sticking to traditions and all that, Viridian divulged. Are you serious? What the hell are they doing then? They could get so much more done, Caspian exclaimed. Well, there's only so much crystallized mana to go around. They're at about production capacity. They gotta fill the time somehow. Might as well let them enjoy themselves, Viridian noted. Bloody mages, Caspian grumbled. The ritual wrapped up and another followed. Each ending ritual was replaced with another, the occasional sale in between rituals punctuating the evening. However, product was running low, and so were customers. How long is Conclave anyway? Caspian inquired. Almost unending. There's a reason sales were flourishing, Viridian answered. What do they even do anyway? Converse about magic, make motions, impose laws on certain spells. Non-magical folk usually fail to comprehend, Viridian followed. Yeah, I clearly don't. What I don't comprehend is why it takes so damn long, Caspian grumbled. There are a lot of mages, many opposing ideas. However, time is limited with rules, Viridian responded. Rules? Caspian inquired. Costs 1 mana per minute you occupy the floor. Prevents people from taking too long, Viridian explained. They're spending their mana on this, Caspian exclaimed. Caspian threw up his hands in exasperation and turned his body to Viridian. If I ever die out there because you spent your bloody mana on talking, I'm using my next reincarnation to gouge your eyes out, Caspian ranted. That doesn't sound like too virtuous an ambition. Reincarnation might take a while, Viridian joked, waving his finger at Caspian. It's an ambition, and that's virtue enough, Caspian huffed. More time passed as the Joe stared at the unknown rites underway. How many do you reckon I could take before I went down? Caspian mused. What? Answered Viridian. Caspian motioned towards his sword, and then the groups of mages performing rites. I got a surprise on my side, and none of them are wearing armor. I reckon I got at least 3, Caspian pondered. Don't forget, they still wield magic. 1 shatter and your weapon is a fine metallic mist. You'd fail to topple more than 2, Viridian noted. Yeah, but these folk are fresh out of Conclave. They might have spent their mana, countered Caspian. Crystallized mana, Caspian, Viridian noted. Anyway, why are you even pondering this? You'd never make it out alive, Viridian followed. Oh, of course, I'm not gonna do it. It'd just be funny, that's all. Hell of a way to go, Caspian remarked. Funny? You're backstabbing innocent people, scolded Viridian, faking outrage. Think about it. You spend all your time studying the mystic arts, climbing to the top of the empire, and it all ends because of some idiot with a sword. Teach him for spending precious resources on talking, smirked Caspian. How hideously unvirtuous of you, scolded Viridian, sticking his tongue out at Caspian. Arguing over virtues is for priests, grunted Caspian. Say that to a priest. They tend to dislike casual heresy, replied Viridian. Only the boring ones, replied Caspian with a smile. After what felt like an eternity, Conclave ended. The mages emerged out of their portal. Those of you that bought some of our wares, please return our glassware, Viridian and Caspian periodically shouted into the gaggle of garbed magi. They were ignored by the exiting practitioners. Looking down at what remained of their stock, most was gone, but so was a lot of the glassware they expected the mages to return. Bloody mages nicked our bottles! Can't trust the lot of them, shifty spellcasting bastards. They even took my favorite one, exclaimed Caspian. He paused for a second, looking at Viridian's bemused face. Sorry, not you, of course, Caspian followed. Disrupting Caspian's rant, a man with an enormous leather-bound book slung across his shoulder approached, the familiar appearance of a previous customer. In his hands, some of the used bottles. "The bottles I borrowed, and your wares were delicious," the book-burdened customer said. He then disappeared into the night with the rest of the crowd. Viridian looked at Caspian expectantly. "Okay, fine. Maybe they're not so bad. Still missing my favorite one," Caspian grumbled. "Caspian, we both know you stole that bottle. You can even see the scratch marks where you carved the family sigil off the cap," laughed Viridian. "I didn't do nothing," Caspian stated defiantly as he packed the now empty bottles into the chest for transit once more. "We'll make sure to take names next time," Viridian confirmed, patting Caspian on the back. They picked up the now empty bottles of what once was Viridian's grotto and departed into the night, smiling and joking as they went.